Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your stack of information, all those articles, studies, and notes, and we synthesize it into something you can actually use.
And our mission today is a really important one for any advanced English learner. We're essentially building a shortcut to sounding not just correct, but truly natural.
Right, a shortcut to that high-scoring, fluent spoken English.
Oh, yes,
We've
sir.
pulled from IELTS guides, from business English manuals, and from some serious academic research on how people actually talk.
And the one big insight that just kept coming up is this. Fluency isn't just about having more words.
No, it's a balance. It's knowing how to use those really complex formal phrases when you need them.
And also knowing how to use the, let's call them the messy, real-time shortcuts that native speakers use without even thinking.
Exactly. If you only have the formal part, you sound like a walking essay. And that's not fluency. It's something else. It's inauthentic.
It is. It's a dead giveaway that you're reciting, not communicating.
Okay, so let's dig into that. That's our first segment, this huge gap between textbook English and the reality of spoken grammar.
Well, the core difference is just pressure. Written language is planned. You can edit, you can restructure.
You have time.
You have all the time in the world. But speaking is live, it's spontaneous, it's interactive, and you have to build your sentences step by step on the fly.
It's like building the plane while you're flying it.
That's a great way to put it. And that pressure, that real-time assembly, is what creates a totally different kind of grammar. A grammar that often looks, wrong by written standards.
And if you don't learn these features, your flow just hits a wall. You sound clunky.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how we leave words out. If we're both looking at a ringing phone, I wouldn't say, are you going to answer the telephone? I just say,
Gonna get that.
yeah, exactly. Or even just phone. And that's our first shortcut structure, ellipsis.
Just omitting things because the context is obvious.
It's conversational shorthand. We call it situational ellipsis. You hear it in set phrases like, any questions, instead of do you have any questions?
Or sounds good.
Sounds good. Perfect example.
Yeah.
You don't need that at the beginning. The context does the work and lets you speak faster. It's all about coping with that real-time pressure.
Okay, so ellipsis is one tool, but the research we looked at also highlighted these other things, these dislocations. You called them heads and tails.
Yes. Heads and tails are critical for managing information in real time for both you and the listener.
So let's start with heads. What are they?
A head, or what linguists call left dislocation, is when you put the topic out there first before you say what you want to say about it.
So you're giving the listener a heads up.
Precisely. Instead of trying to build a perfect sentence like, the soccer game last night was really exciting, which is actually kind of complex to assemble live.
You just say, the soccer game last night, and then you pause for a second.
Right? The soccer game last night, it was really exciting.
Right.
You state the topic, then you comment on it. It gives everyone a moment to process. Some researchers even call it an act of kindness to the listener.
I love that. So what seems like a grammatical mistake is actually a communication strategy.
It's a massive advantage. And tails are just the opposite. Right? Dislocation.
So you add the clarification at the end?
Exactly. You make your main point, and then you tag on a detail or a judgment. For example,
Yeah.
my teacher is really nice, the one from America.
Or, that was a strange movie, that.
Yes. You've already delivered the core message, but the tail lets you add a little bit more to clarify or just to add your opinion. It makes your speech incredibly flexible.
So it's less about rigid rules and more about dynamic, real-time competence.
If you can get a handle on heads, tails, and ellipsis, your speech will instantly sound less like a script and way more natural. They are the building blocks of spontaneous talk.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And those building blocks lead us right into our next big topic, which is the language we use to steer the conversation itself, the discourse markers.
Right. Discourse markers are the glue. They're words and phrases that manage the flow and the structure of what you're saying, but they don't actually change the core meaning of the sentence.
We're talking about words like, oh, well,
And connectors like so and but. They're absolutely essential. The source is pointed to Maslow's framework, which breaks them down into 4 useful categories.
let's walk through that. What's the first one?
First up are the interpersonal markers. These are all about the relationship between you and the listener, your attitude, how you're engaging them,
So things like look or believe me.
or even something like wow to show surprise, or exactly to show strong agreement. They add color and connection.
And I bet this is one of the first things learners cut out because it feels extra. It's not in the formal essay.
It is. And when you cut them, you might sound grammatically perfect, but you also sound cold and distant.
Okay, so after interpersonal, what's next?
Next are referential markers. These are mostly about logic and sequence. Things like now, then, or because.
Simple enough. Then the structural ones.
Right. Structural markers manage the overall shape of your conversation. They're the signposts. So saying first of all or in the end, or even just using so to signal that you're about to summarize.
And that brings us to the last category, which feels like the most important for this discussion, the cognitive markers.
Yes. These are the ones that reveal your thought process. It's the when you're thinking, when you realize
Oh,
something.
I mean, when you're about to correct yourself.
Exactly. And of course, this means we have to talk about the great and debate.
Ah, yes, the dreaded fillers. For decades, every public speaking coach has told us to eliminate them, that they're just signs of nervousness.
And that's just, well, it's not the full picture linguistically. Yes, they can signal hesitation, but they also serve a vital function in discourse planning.
What do you mean by that?
A filler, like, or is a signal to everyone else in the conversation that you're not done speaking. You're holding the floor. You're keeping the mic.
That's huge, because in a fast-paced conversation, especially in, say, American culture, a clean pause can be seen as an invitation for someone else to jump in.
It's an open door. The filler basically says, hang on, I'm thinking, I'll be right there with my next point. Don't interrupt me. It buys you time without losing control of the conversation.
But wait a minute, let's be practical. If I'm in a job interview and I'm saying, every other word, that's still bad, isn't it?
Or absolutely. That's the crucial distinction. We're not advocating for excessive use. A few well-placed functional fillers sound natural. A constant stream of them signals that you're unprepared or struggling.
So the goal is control, not complete eradication.
Exactly. Functional use. And what's really fascinating, something we found in the research, is that fillers can actually help the listener. There's evidence that hearing a filler, like before a piece of information, can improve the listener's recall of that information. It's like a little audio flag that says, pay attention, something important or complex is coming next.
Wow. So they're not just a nuisance, they're functional tools.
They really are.
Okay, so we've covered the, let's say, the messy but authentic side of fluency. Now let's flip to the other side, the sophisticated, high-level structures you need for more formal discussions. The band 7 to 9 lexical goal.
Right. This is where you have to demonstrate range and complexity. You can't just keep saying, I think.
So what's the upgrade? If you want to give a strong personal opinion, what's a better way to phrase it?
Well, instead of just, I think, you could say, I'm inclined to believe. Or, it strikes me that.
It strikes me that sounds so much more thoughtful. It implies the idea just came to you after consideration.
It does. Or you can say, what I find particularly interesting is it really elevates the thought.
Yeah.
And if you need to show a balanced view, which is key in tests like IELTS.
You can use phrases like, I have mixed feelings about that.
Or, to be perfectly honest, or a very natural one is, if I had to choose. And you also have to show nuance to avoid sounding too absolute. So you use qualifiers.
Like, to some extent, or by and large.
Relatively speaking, substantially.
Yeah.
These show you have fine control over the language.
And this all ties into cohesion, linking your ideas together. So beyond and or also.
You upgrade to furthermore, moreover, or the slightly more conversational, what's more.
And for contrasting ideas, this is where a lot of people get stuck on just using but.
And moving beyond but is a huge separator. You need to be using nevertheless, on the contrary, or one of my favorites, having said that.
Having said that is so useful. It acknowledges the point someone just made, but immediately sets you up to offer a counterpoint. It's very dynamic.
It is. It shows you're actively listening and processing. And finally, don't forget about clarifying. Being able to rephrase a complex idea is a sign of high-level fluency.
Right. So using phrases like, what I mean by that is.
Or, to put it another way, or, if you really want to be clear, the point I'm trying to make is, and then you follow it up with, let me elaborate on that.
Those are fantastic. They show you're in complete control of the conversation.
Okay, so for our final segment, let's get really practical. Let's talk about the conversational toolkit of phrasal verbs, idioms, and even a little slang that makes you sound current.
Yes. Phrasal verbs. You just can't escape them. Take figure out. It's so common because it implies a process. It's not just understand, it's come to understand over time.
Exactly. Or a word like turn up. It can mean increase the volume, sure, but in conversation it almost always means to appear unexpectedly, like my keys finally turned up.
That's such a native-sounding usage. Okay, what about in the workplace? What idioms do you need to sound competent?
Well, to start a project, you don't just start. You get the ball rolling.
And to stay informed, you ask someone to keep me in the loop.
Or you say you're going to touch base with them. And now, of course, you can just say ping me, which started as tech jargon but is now completely mainstream.
And if you have to make a tough decision,
You bite the bullet. And if a project fails and you have to start over from the beginning,
you go back to the drawing board.
that's it. And if you have a huge task ahead of you, you can say, I really have my work cut out for me. These phrases are efficient. They pack a lot of meaning into a small package.
We should probably touch on contemporary slang, too. Maybe not to use in an exam, but definitely to understand.
Absolutely. It's about cultural competence.
Mm-hmm.
So for agreement, you'll hear bet. Or to say something is true, no cap.
For something impressive, slay, or the older but still common, dope.
And on the other side, if something is awkward, it's cringe.
Yeah.
And to subtly insult someone is to throw shade. Just knowing these helps you understand the subtext of a lot of casual conversations.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. It feels like what we're saying is that true advanced mastery runs on two parallel tracks.
That's a great way to put it. Track 1 is structural sophistication. That's using the high-level connectors like nevertheless, the advanced opinion phrases, and the structures like heads and tails to build strong, coherent arguments.
And track 2 is conversational authenticity. That's using the discourse markers, the natural phrasal verbs, the idioms, and yes, even the controlled use of fillers like to sound real and manage the flow of a live conversation.
And for you, the learner trying to master this system is really straightforward. It's a 3-step plan. First, read and listen. Immerse yourself in authentic stuff you actually like.
Second, record. When you find a new phrase, don't just write the word. Write down who uses it, in what context, with what other words. Example sentences are key.
And third, the most important step, review. Spend 5 or 10 minutes every single day actively trying to use these new phrases. Put them into practice immediately. That's how they stick.
So we've seen that some of these conversational shortcuts, phrases like to be honest, or even basically, can actually get you high scores in an exam because they demonstrate authenticity. But other things, like slang, would be a disaster.
Right.
So that leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to consider. If your goal is to sound both professional and confident, how do you decide which of these conversational shortcuts and idioms to embrace and which ones you should consciously decide to put on the back burner?